this we really have to pay attention to. Ve'et Hanan was the Torah portion prior to this one, and in that Torah portion is the Shema. Okay? And the Shema is such an important thing in our lives because it's a tool given to us to look at ourselves. So when we look at Torah portion Aikev, I'm going to ask you this question. What is the purpose of the Torah? Why do we have the Torah? The answer is found in the Torah. But why do we have the Torah? We get all kinds of, to teach us the halakha, how to walk, and all, a lot of stuff. I'm going to read you something. Well, before I read you something, I want to take a look at, you don't have to go there, but if you want to know, Vayikra 11:42. Okay? Vayikra 11:42 says, "And he who eats of his carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening. And he who picks up its carcass has to wash his garments and shall be unclean until evening." Okay, so not much there, except that at Vayikra 42, we find the absolute middle letter of the Torah. The letter at the very center of the Torah. Okay? Now if we say the Torah is the heart of Yahuwah, that the last letter is Lamed and the first letter is Beit, what is at the very center of the Torah? And it's interesting because it's in the word Vekol, which is translated as and all. And all. Okay. But it's spelt Vav Kaf Lamed. The very center letter of the Torah is the Vav that represents what? You and I. You and I are at the very center of the heart of Yahuwah Elohim. And if we consider that it's in the word Vekol, now kol means all, but kol also means to become whole, to become complete. The very center of the Torah, why do we have the Torah, is so that we, as the Vav, can become whole or complete, to know when to clean ourselves after we've touched a dead carcass. Okay? And that's perhaps gives us the best introduction to this Torah portion, Aikev. Before we get into this, there are some things in this Torah portion. Well, actually, the Torah portion itself begins at Devarim 7:12. But if we look at 9, it says, "And you shall know that Yahuwah your Elohim, He is Elohim, the trustworthy El, guarding covenant and kindness for 1,000 generations with those who love Him and those who guard His commandments." It's interesting. It says He guards His covenant. The word used for He guards His covenant, guard, is shamar. He treasures His covenant, and He seeks to preserve His covenant. And then He loves He loves those who also seek to shamar. It uses shamar twice in this verse. Those who seek to treasure a covenant. What is a covenant? It's a relationship with our Elohim based on Aikev, the commandments. The commandments are what's spoken of specifically in Aikev. But the thousandth generation, if we look at Shemot 20, the first 3 commandments, he tells us, Anochi Yahuwah Elohecha, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. That's the first commandment. Second one, you will not make for yourself any carved image of any likeness that is in the heavens above or on the earth beneath or is in the waters under the earth. You will not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the iniquity of the fathers. Basically, when it says this word wickedness is Torahlessness, this inability or lack of desire to follow instruction, to the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me. But then it says, but showing kindness to thousands, to those who love and guard my commandments. How long is the millennium? How long? 1,000 years. The remnant are the ones who Shema, who perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, and observe His word in their lives, and Shamar, His covenant. I preserve it. I treasure my relationship with my Elohim. Something that Veth Hanan tells us is that don't mingle with other things and don't mix them into your belief system. And we all have mingled and mixed things in our belief system because we've all grown up with different things. And letting go of some of these things is very difficult at times. But if we are to enter into the millennium as the remnant, then Parsha Aikev becomes very important because it answers why, what, how, who, where. It simply tells us because. Okay? And it says in 11, the last verse of Et Hanan, and you shall guard, you shall shamar the command and the laws and the Torah and the right rulings which I command you today to do them. Why does it not say Shema? Why does it not say, and you will perceive, discern, understand, obey, and apply them? Literally it says, and you will treasure the command. You will treasure the mishpat. You will treasure my words. And then you will preserve them and observe them within yourself. Then it says, the first verse of Aikev, and it shall be, because you hear these right rulings, that you shall shamar. You will preserve, you will treasure them and do them, that Yahuwah your Elohim shall shamar. He will treasure you and the covenant and the kindness which he swore to your fathers. Okay? What do we need in our relationship? I need to treasure my relationship. I have a relationship with my wife. I treasure the relationship with my wife, regardless. Okay? I have friends. I treasure my relationship with my friends. They're diamonds, right? They're fine jewelry. I have friends that are costume jewelry, but I treasure my relationship with the fine jewelry that I guard. I don't leave my fine gold, not that I have any, and diamonds and all this stuff on the nightstand and leave, here it is if you want it. I take care of it. I preserve it, right? So let's take a look at Parsha Aikev. It says that it shall be because you hearken. This study is a close look at Parsha Aikev. The Torah portion as a whole speaks about the blessings that will come in keeping the commandments in the Promised Land. More specifically, the blessings that will come in treasuring the commandments. Okay? We've talked about perceiving, discerning, understanding. Do I treasure the commandments? It's another question to ask. We read about the rebukes by Moses recalling the golden calf, the rebellion of Korah, the sin of the spies. Moses reminds the people how Elohim fed them with manna. And in this Torah portion we find the verse, man does not live on bread alone, but by the utterance of Elohim's mouth does he live. Does that sound familiar? It is in this Torah portion that the children of Israel are commanded to destroy the idols of the land's former residents. An interesting point in this parsha is the warning the people to receive not to become haughty or proud and begin to believe that my power and the might of my hand have I become wealthy. Okay? I have a lot to do with the good things that come my way. But my relationship with my Elohim is what gives me the wisdom and the knowledge to follow through with the things that I actually take action on. Okay? The Parsha describes the this is not a commandment to be humble. We must do this on our own for it to be real. There's actually no commandment in the Torah to be humble. It says, if you will call upon my name and humble yourselves, then I'll listen to you. But there's no, thou shalt be humble. Okay? Because we have to be able to do that on our own. Okay? The Parsha describes the adverse results of not keeping the commandments, famine and exile, as well as the rewards for keeping the commandments. We learn about prayer within this Torah portion. We learn about the resurrection of the dead in the world to come, also is mentioned in this Torah portion. You know, if you want to know what happens, Parsha Cave is the place that will give us an idea as to what goes on. But our look into this Parsha is found at Devarim, and we're going to look at 7, 12, and 13 to help us better understand our relationship, not only with Yahuwah our Elohim, but one another as well. What is the commandment that Yahusha gave? Love Yahuwah your Elohim, sure. But he says, also love one another as you love yourselves. Okay? And he said on this, the whole Torah is grounded. So, again, it shall be because you hearken to these ordinances, because you shamar these ordinances, and shamar and do them, that Yahuwah Elohecha shall shamar with you the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto your fathers. So it starts with vechaya. This word begins this verse. It means and shall be. The word chaya is the root of the name Yahuwah, and the phrase vechaya has the same gematria, 26, as the name Yahuwah. Okay? Chaya means to exist. Keeping this in mind, let's consider the next word, which is aikev, that means not only because, as this is not the primary meaning, but also it means both consequence and reward. The root of this word is akav, that means to supplant and to circumvent. Okay? So it means reward, it means consequence, but it also means to circumvent and to supplant. Akev asks us, why do you believe what you believe? Do you believe something that's been supplanted? Do you believe something that has circumvented the word? Do you stand on the promise of the blessing, or are you moving towards the consequences of not? Okay? Let's also keep this in mind as we consider the next word, which is tishmeun, meaning you shall hearken. The root of this word now is shema, which is to hear, perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, and be content. Then our verses say, these ordinances, as well as to keep and to do them. What are these? Are they the 613 mitzvot found in the Torah? That's what the Talmud says. There's 613 mitzvot in the Torah. And if you're an ultra-Orthodox Jew, it's okay. You can reincarnate yourself as many times as you need to until you fulfill all 613. The only problem is you will never reincarnate as a Cohen in the time when the Levites were sacrificing animals. So that kind of blows that one out of the water, unless you can reincarnate and go back in time, which would be cool. I'd go back to when I was 10. Knowing what I know now, I'd be okay. Anyway, that was a question that I read the other day. If you had a choice between the red pill and the blue pill, the red pill, you could go back to when you were 10, knowing everything you know now. The blue pill, you could go back to when you were 45 and have $50 million in the bank. Well, I think that if I went back to when I was 10, knowing everything I know now, by the time I was 45, I would be far more ahead than 50 million. Namely, because I could pick all the right horses at the racetrack. No, forget it. Forget it. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's go back to the word Aikev and take a closer look. The gematria, the geometry, the numerical value of Aikev is Ayin 70, Kaf, 100, and Beit, which is 2. If we add them together, we come up with 172 words. There just happens to be 172 words found in the Ten Commandments. Wasn't me. Okay? 172 words in those commandments, those 10 suggestions that tell me the answer to why. Because I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Don't have any other Elohim before me. Don't make something up and replace me with it. Don't bring my name to nothing. Take time to rest with me. Respect your life. And then respect the lives of other people. You know. So, there's 172 words in the Ten Commandments. Whose commandments? V'chaya, and it shall be. It was Yahuwah that told Moses, I shall be what I shall be. His name holds the same gematria as this word. These are the commandments of Yahuwah Elohim given to the children of Israel directly from Yahuwah Elohim when they stood at the foot of the mount and heard his voice speak to them. We are to keep and to do them. The word keep is ushemaratem, that means not only to keep, but from the root shamar also means to guard, to observe, and to pay attention. It also means to treasure. Okay? The word is the root of shema. The word for to do them is va'asitem, that not only means to do, but also to be made. The first time that we see the word asa in the Torah is on the day that he made the heavens and the earth, or that he made the creation. Okay? It's an interesting concept in that we don't simply do the commandments of Yahuwah Elohim, but that they make us, as in they make us who we are, not just in our own eyes or in the eyes of others, but most importantly, they make us who we are in the eyes of Yahuwah, our Elohim. Okay? It is in the commandments of Yahuwah Elohim that we find both reward and consequence, which we find are also the meanings of the word aikev. The word for these ordinances is chamishpatim, that from the roots mishpat doesn't mean ordinance as much as it means a judgment, as in the act of judging a case. The root of this word is shapat, that means to judge and to govern, as well as to vindicate and to punish. This is a very important thing to understand, that it's based on these 10 commandments given by Yahuwah Elohim, that we are governed or govern our lives, because it is also by these that we will be judged and receive either a vindication or the other thing, which is a punishment. Not so much a punishment. I've said it and people kind of look at me like I'm growing a second head. Elohim doesn't punish. There are consequences. So more than the idea of punishment, there's either blessing or there's consequence. I can do what he says and be blessed, or I cannot do what he says and suffer the consequences of my action. My Elohim doesn't punish me for not doing what he says. I simply suffer the consequences of not following the instructions. Okay? There. It was called truth or consequence. That's it. There's instructions to taking antibiotics. If you don't take them for the full run of the antibiotics, they're useless. If you take them the way you're supposed to take them, they work. Okay? I can follow the instructions and get well, or I can not follow the instructions and suffer the consequence of not getting well. I can become whole and complete within the heart of my Elohim, or I cannot become whole and complete. Okay? All right, so there we go. Now I've totally lost myself. So, vindication or consequence. The word mishpat, interestingly, also means to receive a verdict. We can confirm this by considering the very words of Yahusha when he was asked by the Pharisees what the most important commandment was, to which Yahusha responded, "Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah your Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you will love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And the second is just like it, that you will love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." Did he bypass anything? No. Because in you will love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength, and you will love your neighbor as yourself, he uses 2 commandments to encapsulate the fullness of the 10. Okay? So there's nothing greater than the 10. The whole Torah and the prophets depend on these 2 commandments. Why? Because we have to have the instructions in order for us to understand what is a dead carcass and to be willing to clean ourselves and become vekol, become whole, the complete Adam once again. Okay? If we say that Yahusha was and is our example of how to keep Torah, we must consider that what he did. He ministered to the poor, physically and spiritually. He fed the hungry. He cared for the widows and the fatherless. He healed the sick, the lame, the leper, the blind. He cast out evil spirits and raised the dead. Why? Because the 10 Commandments say so. Because the Torah says, love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others that you would have them do unto you. In this we can understand the balance of the verse that says that Yahuwah Elohecha, not Elohechem, Elohecha, personal, intimate relationship, shall keep with you the covenant and the mercy which he swore to your fathers. Interesting, he uses the word Elohecha. He's talking to each and every one of us as individuals. The Torah is given to each one of us as an individual. Sure, everybody can have a Torah, but it's my choice as an individual to Shema and to Shamar the Torah. Okay? Yahuwah Elohecha shall keep you in the covenant, the mercy which he swore to your fathers. Who was it? The 1,000 generations of them that love him. Yahusha backs this up at Matthew 25:40 when he says, the king will answer to them, most certainly I tell you, because of what you did to the least of my brothers, you did to me. We all know the parable that he tells. There's a group over here and a group over here. The group over here feeds the hungry, takes care of everything because they want to. They're not seeking a reward. They're not seeking anything. They simply do it because it's what the Torah tells them they should do. But the group over here, they're also feeding the poor and they're also taking care of the hungry. But why are they doing it? They're doing it to get recognition. He says, you didn't feed me when I was sick. You didn't clothe me. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And they say, when didn't we feed you? When didn't we come visit you? When did we do all this? Okay? When was I not so great? Look at how great I was that I did all this stuff. Because I'm all that and 2 bags of potato chips. Ooh. And he says, and then what does he say? He says, depart from me, you workers of Torahlessness. I don't know you. Because I'm not doing it because the Torah instructs me. I'm not treasuring what the Torah says, to love my neighbor as I love myself, to do unto others as I would have them do unto me, to do it out of love and compassion. Okay? What are the blessings that we are to receive in keeping the commandments of our Elohim? So let's consider verse 13. And he will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land. He will bless the fruit of your land. Bless the fruit of your land, your grain, your wine, your oil, and increase your cattle and the young of your flock, and the land which he swore unto your fathers to give you. What is love that we consider that Yahuwah will love us? Do we consider the love of our Elohim all the stuff that we have? Or is the love of my Elohim the knowledge that I am in an intimate relationship with a very, 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 very dear friend? Okay? We cry out, Abba, Father. We could say, a lot of people don't have a good relationship with their father. Most people have a very dear friend. Okay? When I say friend, people who were in covenant were often called friends. Okay? So, what is the love that we consider Yahuwah will love us? 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. These attributes are love that we consider in the context of a relationship with one another is the same love and attributes that Yahuwah Elohim shows us. What does it say in 13, 4 through 8 of Corinthians? It's in that third Bible. I didn't mark it because I tried to mark everything, but you never know. You never always mark everything. And I love this Bible, but everything is like way out of whack, so it's like, okay, where did it go? Okay, there it is. Okay, 1 Corinthians 13. What is love? What is love? So, 4 through 8. It says, what's love got to do with it? It said, what's her name? Love is patient, is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not boast, is not puffed up, does not behave indecently, does not seek its own, does not provoke, reckons not the evil, does not rejoice over unrighteousness, but rejoices in the truth. It covers all, believes all, expects all, endures all. Love never fails. So we have qualities within this that explain to us what love is and what the love of Elohim is towards us and what the love that we should have towards others has to be. So we have an example. Paul probably, he's the genius rabbi, the student of Gamaliel, chosen personally by Yahusha, is the one that's telling us this. Basically, he's taking the Torah and wrapping it up in something we could understand. If we read King Jimmy uses the word charity as opposed to love. A willingness to give of ourselves for no other reason that it's the right thing to do. All right? So, let's see. When we consider the word bless, we take it for granted. What does to be blessed mean? So we look at Webster's dictionary. It defines it as being protected and cared for, being provided with things, good and desirable things, include circumstances and situations. To be blessed, not just to be blessed with stuff. A circumstance, a situation is also a blessing. Okay? In the words and multiply, we have the word vehirabecha, that means to make great and to make prosperous more than it means to make numerous. The next phrase is to consider how we have a grasp on this to be blessed. He will also bless the fruit of your body. The word for fruit of your is euperi, that literally would mean your fruit. Peri means fruit, but comes from the root para, that means to bear fruit or to be fruitful. In these concepts, we recognize that we begin a project, and with proper care, that project is successful, it bears fruit. What is the first commandment given to humankind? Be fruitful and multiply. Not necessarily in the idea of bringing forth progeny, but the idea is to be fruitful. I'm giving you this life, do something with it. Okay? But tenecha doesn't necessarily mean body as much as it actually means belly. The word literally means something hollow. And if we consider this, we can consider an idea that the blessing of Yahuwah will fill up our emptiness with fruitfulness and success. This phrase, however, holds a paradox in that we have to be careful to keep our eyes focused on Yahuwah through His Word and not become haughty, as we've learned earlier, saying, look what I have created. Your success is found in the blessing of Yahuwah Elohim. The paradox here in the belly is that of the tet. I can fill it with the blessings of Yahuwah Elohim, or I can fill it with the enticements of the Satan. I can fill it with things that are permanent, that lead me towards that 1000th generation.